Alright. Welcome back to Nick Landis Comic Corner Classic Non Classics. This episode number 2238 and Doubleshot number 2132. Now, these two trades feature characters created by Stan Lee. Well, at least the starring characters, anyways. There's one, technically, he is basically said that different guy created this guy. He just got credit because he co-wrote the first appearance of this character. But this is not focused on him. This is focused on his beautiful wife, Clea. We have the second trade for Strange. Volume 2, The Doctor Strange of Death. Collecting Strange, Volume 3, Issues 6 to 10. And this pretty much is the end of the Strange series because here's the thing. The book series ended. It was relaunched as a brand new volume for Doctor Strange because, well, I'll get to it. Oh, and I love the whole thing with this book and the previous book. It's all about death. Yes, I belong to death. Basically, it's a reference to. So I think I'm not sure who said this. Basically, I become the destroyer of worlds. I think it was one of the guys in Manhattan Project. I've seen a clip a few times for it. So in this one, by the way, so we have Jed MacKay in the writing here, but we have like 3 artists. We have like 4 artists in these issues, which is interesting. 6 is done by Lee Gerbert. 7, 9, and 10 is done by Marquillo Ferreira, and issue 8 is done by Safa Lodino. The cover art is by Lee Gerbert. He does all 5 issues here, which. Yeah, and this cover here, this is like a nod to an old crime noir poster, where it's like Strange, Wong, Clea Strange, Bat the Dog, The Big Spell. Yeah, I love the fact that I love also the framing they give here. It's like basically you see Jed MacKay. It seems like he has a lot of love for film noir, and he brings it to Doctor Strange, which. Now, this is the whole thing with issue 6. 6 is basically an issue focused on Wong, where he's looking for the Blasphemy Cartel, and we get guest appearance in here by the Black Widow. Yes, the Black Widow. Now, you might be curious, though. Had Jed MacKay ever wrote Black Widow before? Prior to this, did he write any Black Widow comic book? Excuse me. Well, I might be able to answer that for you. Okay, the answer if he ever wrote Black Widow before. Like, did there any Black Widow comic? The answer is no. He never has. Ooh, I'm looking forward to that. It is quite interesting that he basically featured. This whole issue focused on Wong. Of course, there is a couple other people associated with. Now, if you think about it, the Blasphemy Cartel are kind of in a way the main bad guys of this whole run. They pretty much appear all but like 2 issues. They skip issue 2 and 6, but they're pretty much here almost the entire run. And this issue 6 basically explains. There's also mention here about the DOA, the Department of Occult Armaments. It's basically Hydra's magic division. Yes, so She drops us something, and then we meet up with a group called the Lost Boys. And of course, and then we run into Jean Grey. Now, we do have references in here. I do appreciate Jim McKay allowing the editor basically to do this. Now, it is mentioned here that in the X-Men Hellfire Gala one-shot, the Clea came to Krakatoa. Or Krakoa. Where you see her again. Of course, you upset over the stuff basically related to Mithram. And of course, Jean Grey remembers the events of Extra X number 8, where they couldn't help with the whole MPOC stuff. Plus, you gotta love the whole references in here with Doctor Strange, which was so awesome. And we do reference the miniseries Death Doctor Strange. Oh yeah, and it turns out, though, that the bartender is in fact Pandra Peters, the director of Wand. And it turns out the Blasphemy Cartel, the main villain group of this whole entire series, was Wand. Basically, they were a section of Wand, and they're basically a terrorist organization. Yep, so basically the cover for the trade is the cover for issue number 7. So then, of course, you have Clea first fighting Hunter's Moon with the Harvest Man. Yes, in issue number 7. Yes. I believe it's Harvest Moon. I mean, it looks like Hunter's Moon, basically, who is Moon Knight's brother. And then, of course, then we see Goliath. Yes, Goliath, who was brought back here as a zombie. Yes, Bill Foster brought back as a zombie. For reasons. Yeah. And it's kind of the same thing with the brought back Thunderstrike. Yeah, first we briefly resurrect Thunderstrike. Now we bring back basically Bill Foster. Yep, and he's a frickin' zombie. Like, he's like, I'm Goliath. And he's put to rest. Yep. So yeah, then Clea finds out that the Harvest Man is her long-lost husband, but they can't touch because of the contract with, of course, well, death. All she wants is him back. And then we get a debut of Director Nunn. Who is Director Nunn, you might ask? They never revealed this in the main book for some reason. I do not know why in the world this is like this. But Director Nunn is the one who's the leader of this group. Yes. Yeah, and here's the strange thing, though. This guy is never revealed what this guy is really, who he really is. He's just some blank guy. It could be anybody. I meant about the Lazarus Project. So, of course, you can rely with bats. And of course, go to Big Box. Now, apparently, one was suspended thanks to events of Secret Empire. Because one was part of S.H.I.E.L.D., and when S.H.I.E.L.D. went away, so did Wand. And of course, Blasphemy Cartel was trying to get their hands on Wand's magical artifacts. Yeah, that's the thing. I really wish that Jen McKay would explain who the heck this guy is. So they're working with the director of that group. Now, I do appreciate, though, that you have Clea doing the fist thing and, of course, doing the whole... I think with, like, of course, him being happy with it. And they go to the headquarters of the Blasphemy Cartel in Emerald City. I wonder if that's not the Wizard of Oz. Yep. And they go in and take on director... Yep. So, yeah. So basically, they battle the Plasma Cartel in these issues. Like, don't touch my wife, you dead thing. Who is this dead thing, you might ask? Who is this resurrected zombie? This is, of course, issue number 8. Now, you're probably thinking, who the heck is this guy who popped up in this issue? Actually, it was issue number 9. Who is this guy, you might ask? Well, it's the Constrictor. Yes, the Constrictor. A guy who's been dead for 5 years. Actually, more like 7 years. Yep. Yeah, and currently his son. Yes, his son is the current Constrictor. Yes, and he met up with Sabretooth one issue of Iron Fist. Yeah, and the most recent appearance is actually an issue of Amazing Spider-Man Nick Spencer's run. Yes, but he's not the only person who pops up here. Oh no, he's not the only one. We also see the return of... Get this, so they resurrect the Constrictor, but also the frickin' Sentry! Yes, this goofball. So this is Revenant Prime, possessed by one of 100,000 ghosts. I'm thinking, really? The Sentry? I'm like, what? Seriously? Revenant Prime is the Sentry? Really? The same guy who was killed by the King in Black at the start of the King in Black crossover. Which I thought that was kind of interesting. Though apparently they found his corpse in the pages of Thunderbolts. Yeah, how did he die? King in Black beheaded him. Well, actually, mostly he ripped him in half. Which is strange, to say the least. Yes. Sentry is always been a character Marvel's wanted to push. Is like, kind of in a way their version of Superman, except he's crazy. Now, prior to this, he was featured in the King of Black Return of the Valkyries. That's where he was previously featured. Of course, yes, he did feature in Hulk Grand Design, but it's a flashback book. But he got killed off in King of Black. Yeah. So, they fight him, and he's dealt with this very issue. So it's like he's brought back as a zombie, and then he gets killed off again. Well, they don't say he's killed off. Constrictor's definitely dead again. So, then of course they, like, two Constrictors, as like, no. Then Doctor Strange is restored, and apparently they have become man and woman, and of course they merge this creature, Doctor Strange and his beautiful wife. And they deal with record none of the Sentry. The ghost who possessed Sentry's body has been freed. And, well, the contract restored. Apparently, Doctor Strange is restored. Except they give him a different attire. I'm like, that's not what you died in, dude. Why the heck you look like this for? Yeah, I have no idea why the heck he dresses like this. Yep, and my guess is the reason why WK had him wear it, because that's what he's going to be wearing for the relaunch. Yes, seriously. That's the reason why. They did this because they relaunched the book. As simply Doctor Strange Volume 6. Yeah, so me. Yeah, and the fact also, I should point this out though, Alex Ross does the cover art for this current volume of Doctor Strange that's currently out right now. Yes, it is the cover artwork, and in my opinion, bringing back the Doctor Strange title was fantastic. This book in particular is awesome. I love it. I give this book a 10 out of 10. Final thoughts on Strange, the Clea Strange book. In my opinion, this book was really good. Jed MacKay clearly has a lot of love for Doctor Strange. Now, I'm just spitballing here. Maybe they have planned to keep Doctor Strange out a little bit longer, but some editor must have realized that killing him off was a mistake. So he was only dead for a year. Yes, Doctor Strange was dead for 1 year. You're thinking, really? He was dead for 1 year? Yeah, he was. Yeah, so basically he's brought back. Yeah, and he takes over Doctor Strange's title. But the thing is, Clea's source is a pretty interesting. Yep. But I love this series. Still gotta pick up Doctor Strange when it comes to the trade, though. Yes, because love this character. I've been buying the trade since basically Jason Aaron run. I will review more trades in the future. Alright, next up, we're going back in time to the 1960s. We have Avengers Epic Collection Volume 1, Earth's Mightiest Heroes. This collects the first 20 issues of Avengers Volume 1. Now, I'm not going to be discussing issues 1 through 3, 1, 2, 3, and 5. Because I have technically discussed these 4 issues in the first Epic Collection for Hulk. Issue 4 is a classic issue. Issue number 4 is Return of Captain America. And they say this in the book. This is the first time in 20 years he's been seen. Despite the fact he did appear in the 50s even after the war. Yeah, this was a retcon done by Stan Lee. And then, of course, somebody had to explain this retcon a decade later in the Captain America Annual. Basically, from the period of 1944 to 1945, it was the Spirit 76, basically, was Captain America. And then he got killed. His cape went to Sun Girl, the original one. And then from 1945 to 1951, it was Jeffrey Mace, the Patriot. He was Captain America, making him having the second longest century of Captain America, who was not the original one. After he retired, a couple years later, they basically had it where William Burnside, who claimed to be Steve Rogers, well, even legally changed him to Steve Rogers for some strange reason. Yeah, he was Captain America in the 50s, and he later became crazy, became the Grand Dictator in the 70s. Yes. So, that's the explanation of why. So, the story starts out with Namor, basically mad about what happens in issue 3, just goes to Alaska for, at least, I think it's supposed to be Alaska. He finds this block of ice being worshipped by people. He basically breaks it, and he goes off, and then he's not seen again for the rest of the issue until toward the very end. The Avengers in their submarine, yes, their submarine that they have, which, as far as I remember, the submarine never appears again. Yeah, that was the thing with this book. Where that we have this mysterious submarine the Avengers have got. Where they got this thing, don't know. Because this is the sole appearance of this damn thing. Yeah, and he also claimed this issue that he was killing off for Bucky, who was dead. And this is a death that they had stuck to for over 40 years. And Ed Brubaker retconned it, where he actually was alive, where he survived the events of when he fell off the exploding experimental plane. Yes, that's how I explain what happened, how it came back on ice. An experimental plane. Except he lost his arm, got captured by the Russians, and brainwashed against the Winter Soldier. The whole thing of this issue is like Captain America being integrated in modern day. And now, here's the thing about Captain America that people, at least Marvel, tend to mistake when it comes to him. Marvel tend to think that Captain America is a founding member of the Avengers. He is not. He is the first recruit. Readers have done this for years. Casual readers who are people who get new to comics will probably believe that statement Marvel put out, but not really. It really isn't. Then we have Avengers fighting Namor later on the issue. We had one point when the Avengers could turn to statues. Yes, statues. And then Captain America frees them. And then, of course, that's part of he's fully accepted part of the Avengers at this point in time. 5, skip over the issue because I've discussed that one. Issue number 6. By the way, this cover here, this issue 4, this cover has been spoofed many times over the years. Even spoofed for an issue of X-Men of War. Now, issue number 6 is the debut of two major things. We have a new supervillain group who is still around this very day, except they have not fought the main team Avengers since the 1980s. And with the debut of a brand new character who his son becomes a recurring villain in Captain America comics. Baron Zemo. Though this is Baron Heinrich Zemo in this off. Yes, the debut of the Masters of Evil. Yep. And this is your lineup for the original lineup for the Masters of Evil, which is comprised of Baron Heinrich Zemo, the Radioactive Man, Black Knight, the original, not Dan Williams, his uncle, and I think that's supposed to be the Melter. So we have basically one Captain America villain, two Iron Man villains, and actually 3 Iron Man villains. And that's pretty much your original lineup for the Masters of Evil. And the Masters of Evil from this point forward up until around issue 16 are like primary threats in this book. Yeah, but it captures like one issue. They're pretty much here. And then basically with issue 7, at the Masters of Evil from now, then the very next issue, they're joined by the Enchantress and the Executioner. I believe that's the Melter. Yeah, it's the Melter. Basically, they get captured. There's also a guy named Franz Gruber who had posed as Baron Zemo. And he's appeared for a few issues, appeared in issues of Captain America as well. Mm-hmm. Issue 7, with basically Headmasters be captured, they are joined by the Enchantress and the Executioner. Yep, and then they battle them, and it continues on for the very next issue of the series, issue number 8, where you have debut of a character who actually had his first live-action experience recently. A man by the name of Kang the Conqueror. Yes. And by the way, this cover has also been spoofed a few times. As a matter of fact, they actually spoofed this cover for an issue of Candy Avengers. I believe it was issue 23. I think it was 22. Yep, so that's the whole thing with issue 8. It's the debut of Kang the Conqueror. Basically a recurring villain for the Avengers that still appears this very day. Mark Waid heavily featured where he wrote the book. Issue number 9, The Return of the Masters of Evil, and the debut of one of the weirdest superheroes of all time, Simon Williams' Wonder Man in his original garb. So yes, Stan Lee did create Wonder Man. Anything associated with him after this issue, he had nothing to do with it at all. He just created him with Jack Kirby, actually with Don Heck. So yeah, that's the whole thing with him. So yeah, he briefly joins the group, and at the end of this issue, he dies. Yep, he dies. Well, in actuality, he gets to a coma. They retcon this basically Decade Leroy Thomas. In issue 10, we have debut of Immortalist. They do mention the Kang the Conqueror issue that Ramato is a past version of himself, Kang is the present version, and Immortalist is the future version of the character. Yep, that's the whole thing with issue 10. It's the debut of Immortalist. Issue number 11 is the first the Avengers meet Spider-Man. Though, yeah, this is done by Don Heck. Now, this issue in particular, they fight Spider-Man, and this is because he becomes a villain. Except this is not actually Spider-Man, this is a robot. Because they wanted to have Spider-Man join the Avengers at this point in time. Yes, they seriously wanted him to join, but he decides not to because he's more of a loner. Yep, and this android. This is quite strange, though. They actually had this particular android return for an issue of Spider-Man Team Up in the 90s. Yes. Oh, and also in the Captain America issue, he meets Rick Jones first time. And that is pretty much set up for Rick Jones to become a supporting character in the pages of Captain America. Yep. So, yeah, it's kind of an oddball issue with the whole thing with issue 12. Issue 11. 12 is basically the Avengers' first fight with the Mole Man. Yes. They fight the Mole Man in this issue. Yeah. They fight the Mole Man. Just cuz. Though he's not the only one. There's stuff in here with Janet being nervous, basically the whole thing of her being woman stuff. The way it's written here is like a very sexist version of her. Yep, and aside dealing with him, we also deal with a Red Ghost for this issue. And then basically issue 13 is the debut of what some people consider to be one of the worst villains in history of Marvel Comics, Count Nefardia, the father of Whitney Frost, aka Madame Mask. Yep. Yeah, that's who debuts this issue. Count Nefardia. In issue 14, now you might be thinking, is the debut of a very original character for issue 13. If you're really curious, for issue 14, 14 is just basically them fighting some... It's basically a standalone issue. Oh, by the way, we have debut of character Dr. Heimdall Stevenson, who only appears in this sole issue. It's like basically it's like Stanley wanted to have the Avengers go to do Antarctica stuff for some reason. Yeah. In issue number 15, it's another match with the Masses of Evil. Yep. That's what happened. 15. Basically, another fight with the Masses of Evil, who has Black Knight and Military join him. But this issue was noteworthy for being the death of the original Baron Zemo. Yes, the original Baron Zemo was only around for a handful of issues. Yes, for some reason they did this. I'm not sure why. It seems like the only time you see him after this is mostly in flashbacks. Yeah, he only appeared just a few times. And in that issue, he stays dead. He gets brought back as a zombie a decade later, but this is the end of him. Now, is this the end of Masses of Evil? Well, the very next issue it does. Yeah. Though, yeah, with his death, the issue 16 basically has it where, despite the fact we're dealing with we have the to do with the original version disbanding. Oh, and by the way, by issue, I think it was 2, because the first issue, Hank Pym was Ant-Man, and then the very next issue becomes Giant. I think it was issue 2. I think it was becomes Giant Man. Well, that's also what was going on the pages of Tales to Astonish. Issue 16 is a noteworthy issue. It's a key issue. Well, not only is this band of the original lineup of the Masses of Evil, we also have a new lineup for the Avengers. Yep, a brand new lineup. Cap, of course, stays on the team per se, but Wasp, I think it was Wasp, Giant Man, and Iron Man all take leaves of absence from the team. They do come back later on. Well, mostly it's Goliath that comes back a little bit later. Well, Giant Man comes back as Goliath, but he's the one who does come back. Iron Man does come back occasionally. Thor at one point seems like he left the team, but not really. Yeah, I was mentioning in the Thor book that the replacements was replacing him, but he knew nothing about it because he just disappeared, and it could be because basically what was going on with Thor at the time. So who fills in the shoes for Iron Man, Wasp, and Giant Man? Hawkeye. Yes, Hawkeye. This was, I believe at the time, I think it was like his third appearance in the comics at the point. Yes, he also did a thing where he broke into Avengers Mansion, and he held Jarvis hostage just to prove a point that he could do it. And he's off a part of the team. Captain America's out of the country at this point in time, dealing with, well, the death of Baron Zemo is basically Avengers at Bucky. That's what he thought anyways until the 2000s. Yep, so, and joining him will be Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch. Yes, Quicksilver and Scarlet Witch join the team in this very issue. Though for some reason, I think it's Jack Kirby draws this issue. For some reason, when they have him, the Wasp show up, seems like she's wearing like a skin-tight suit, looks like a one-piece bathing suit. If you're curious about Quicksilver's attire, despite the fact it's changed colors over the years, design-wise, it's not really changed very much. So yeah, he joins the Avengers after they finish their time in Europe, and they become members of the team. Yep. And so basically, they kind of continue the search for the Hulk with a brand new Avengers lineup. Oh, and by the way, there's actually a mini-series that basically takes place between these issues. Devil Mark Wade. Yes, an actual mini-series that mostly was there to explain something happened to Mark Wade, but it was a really good mini-series. It fills in the gap. It's mostly about people's reaction to where it took some time. Now, in the book here, it's like immediate, except these three people joined in place of Iron Man, Thor, I think it was Iron Man, Wasp, and Giant Man, who basically have the team. So in the first mission, they fight a Minotaur. Yep. Yeah, that's the first mission. Fight a freaking Minotaur in issue 17. Yeah, by the way, it's called Avengers 1.1. Yep. They fight Minotaur and the Mole Man in this issue. And in issue 18, they fight a one-shot character known as the Commissioner, who only appears just in this issue, but mostly appears in flashback. This issue of apparently appear return for issue 2 of. Well, this was a solo appearance, just an android, where they went to China of all places to deal with this issue. Yep. Yeah, another one-shot character. So it's like 2 one-shot stories. And then we have a 2-parter, which is interesting. Yes, a 2-parter, which is a debut of a character that has consequences for modern day. We have the Swordsman. Yes, one of 2 guys who claim to be Hawkeye's mentor. Yes, seriously. This is the debut of the character, and his real name is Jacques Dasique, and he's actually, believe it or not, actually very much a lot. He actually was kind of brought back-ish, per se. And he has a daughter. Yes, he has a daughter. Yeah, and then very next issue, he kind of joins the Avengers with issue 20. Yeah, and then it turns out, though, that he was actually working for Iron Man villain the Mandarin the whole time. Yep, so he kind of joins the team with this issue, and then he leaves. Yep, that's basically what he does. It's kind of similar to what they do with joins the lead team in the very next issue. He does return to the team by the time when I think it was just after Roy Thomas wrapped up his run. Yes, it's like he's here for a one and done. And then, of course, you have mention of Fu Manchu, who is Shang-Chi's father. An alias, by the way. Yes, an actual alias. Now, I should point out, though, Jack Kirby had long left the book, per se. Issue 16 was technically the last issue he drew for the book, because the other artist of the book was Don Heck. I'll be discussing more Avengers in the very next Comic Corner, but this book is just pure classic stuff. I give this book a 9.5. I give this one a 10 out of 10. It's just awesome. Yeah, but I should point out also that Stanley does the main writer of these issues with his brother Larry Irvine. Dick Ayers does some cover art too. This front cover artwork, that's Jack Kirby, Paul Reed, who's the inker, and colors by Paul Motis. The back cover is Jack Kirby, Chris Stone, and Paul Motis. Yeah, the cover for issue number for this here, that's issue 3, and this cover here, that's issue number 10. Yep. But I love reviewing this stuff. It's awesome. Okay, so it's interesting in the fact that this book covered 2 years of Avenger Comics, from 1963 to 1965. Yep, so yeah, I'm going to wrap it up here. So tomorrow, anime and comic corners, okay? Next video. Bye.